Now let's talk about how you deliver the story in your speech. After reading this quote, what are your thoughts on storytelling? Believe it or not, even the President of the United States has rules on storytelling for the speechwriters. Let's look at the 5 rules of storytelling from Obama's speechwriter. 1. The story is more important than the words. In my experience, communications too often focuses on finding the right words. Of course, words are important at some point in the process, but the first question you have to ask yourself is, what is the story I'm trying to sell? Keep the story simple. Audiences today can only handle so much information before they start losing focus. Remember that a speech about everything is a speech about nothing. So be sure to narrow your story down to the essential points. Keep in mind too, for this class, you're going to hear multiple stories in one evening. You don't want to be the one that overwhelms the audience and makes it hard to recall your lesson that you're bringing for the class. Three deals more with persuasion, which is address the arguments against your position during your presentation. 4. Empathy is key. Just knowing your audience isn't enough. You have to know what the world looks like when you are in their shoes. One of the reasons why Obama's speeches are so successful is because they are written in the language that his audience understands, addressing the issues that they are facing. This is a skill we've talked about multiple times throughout this class, to always consider your audience. That means what language do they speak, what issues are important to them, and how do they feel about the issues that you're speaking about. Again, dealing more with persuasion than storytelling, but still important. But there's no persuasion without inspiration. Emotion is the most important element of motivating an audience. This is going to be key to remember for next week when you deliver your inspirational speech. The best way to connect with people is through stories that are important to people's lives. Delivering your speech. Be sure to set the story scene first. Audience members need to know where they are in time and space before they can feel connected to the characters and the speaker. Think about movies. They show you where you are, and if the time frame has changed, they tell you the year on the screen. Make sure that you do that with your words in your speech. Tell your story like it's the first time you're telling it. Show interest through your facial expressions, your body language. Vary the change into your voice. Be animated and energetic. This is not like persuasive speaking. You need to move around the stage. Do it with meaning and with focus. No pacing, no running. Don't do anything with your hands that's going to be distracting. But this is more of a loose body language. You don't need to be so strict and confined. If you have characters in your story, you can change your body language to reflect those characters, or change the tone of voice to show your audience the changes. You can do this too without being too dramatic. Eye contact. This needs to be more direct. Don't scan over the audience. You want to make lasting eye contact with every audience member in that audience. Vocal delivery. Everything about your voice should change. Change according to the story and according to the emotion you want to relay to the audience. The tempo. You wouldn't read Sleeping Beauty with fast action, would you? Of course not, because it's a slow read. There's not a lot of challenges or action involved in Sleeping Beauty, unlike Robin Hood. You want your voice to rise and drop with the words. This is going to add extra meaning and emotions to your words. Pauses. Pauses are good in public speaking. We've talked about this a lot during the course. Pauses are great, especially with storytelling, because it's going to heighten the interest of your listeners. You can pause before changing ideas, before important words, or before important actions. Pauses create curiosity for your listeners. Volume. You can increase the volume to add excitement, surprise, or action. Or when you lower your voice to a whisper, you can add suspense or a deeper emotional connection. There are some mistakes to avoid during storytelling. We're going to cover those now. Number 1, speakers don't tap before they transport. What that means is that you stand up and you immediately start into your story. You don't make that initial connection with your audience members. Before you transport an audience into your story, it's helpful to tap into their world with a question or a statement that's related to them. And from there, you can start to tell your story. Make sure too that you're mixing dialogue into your narration. So often speakers use nothing but narration, and you forget about the importance of dialogue. Dialogue helps your characters to become more real to the listeners. Make sure too that although you know the story, you're also showing a reaction between dialogue. When you deliver a line, you need to show the character's reaction to that line. This helps the audience see your story and feel the emotion. So be sure to use a lot of facial expressions during storytelling. Make sure too that you are establishing a clear conflict for your main character. Conflict is a hook to your story. The quicker you can get to it, the quicker you'll be able to grab the audience's interest. Sometimes speakers don't get to the story fast enough. Many times speakers do what's called pre-ramble. They use too much setup before getting into their story. The story is what's energizing for the speaker. Plus, it's what's interesting for the audience members. So get to it as fast as you can. Make sure too that you let your audience members know that they're going to receive a result from your speech. At the very beginning, if your audience members cannot sense what's in it for them, they may simply decide not to listen. Make sure too that you're making your characters real with relevant hints. If we can't see and sense a character, then that character's not real to us as audience members. Give us hints into what the character looks like, or hints to any other relevant characteristics. The more real they are to us, the more we'll be able to identify with them, relate to the story, and connect with your message. Make sure too that you are escalating conflict. Establishing conflict early in the story helps to create the nice hook, but maximize that conflict. It's important to escalate the conflict to the point where something has to give. When you do this, you hook the audience so effectively that they thirst to know the tool you use to overcome the conflict. Don't be a know-it-all. When you lift yourself up, you let the audience members down. Too many speakers tell stories where they are the ones that overcame with the solution to the conflict. The key, if you want to connect fully with your audience, is to make sure you give credit to others who passed on wisdom or solutions to you, and now you are passing those solutions on to the audience. Mistake number 10. Speakers don't show the change after the cure. Once you share the cure to the conflict, it's absolutely essential to show how the character changed as the result. If there's no emotional change in the character, or nothing that bettered the character's life, then there's no true story. If you take us through the problem, take us through the payoff. The payoff is what gets audience members 80% across the bridge in terms of buying into your message. They don't call back to the person who made the difference. When you get to the end of your story and you repeat your message, it's a good idea to call back to the person, your guru, who taught you the lesson in the first place. This helps us remember that you are not the know-it-all. Rather, you're simply the person who received a solution that you're now sharing with the rest of us. Unfortunately, many times speakers speak like they write. Because so many speakers begin by writing their speeches, you tend to speak that way. My strong suggestion is to speak like you talk, not like how you write. Don't use words in your speeches that you don't use every day. Because when you do that, you seem inauthentic. But when you speak like the way you talk, we get to see the real you. I've shared these tips for you from Craig Valentine. He's the 1999 World Champion of Public Speaking through Toastmasters International. If you'd like to see some of his speeches, you can look him up on YouTube. This is going to end our lesson on how to deliver the story.